We predict that within a couple of years, the U.S. will again be the largest market in the world, perhaps forever. This is what today the market looks like in the United States. The darkest color shows places where you actually have achieved grid parity, where it's actually already cost-effective to use PV. The orange is within 5 cents per kilowatt hour, and the yellow is within 10 cents, and the white is not even close. But let's assume, best case scenario, electricity prices only rise at 1% per annum. 2/3 of the country is at or below grid parity, and 99% is within 5 cents per kilowatt hour.
After installing somewhere around 500 megawatts in the first half of the year, Germany, we don't have final numbers yet for December, but if we take our estimate, the second half of the year was about 2.5 gigawatts. So that's a 5-fold increase. Once German demand begins to wane, or at least once Germany's place in the global market begins to fade, there is no other market that can do that. I would argue that that's actually a good thing, because ultimately, if we're looking long term and we want to be developing a market, we don't want to see this boom-bust cycle within any given year where a single market absorbs, some huge portion of demand and then falls off and we go off seeking the next gold rush. Whatever happens in Germany in the second half of this year is going to have a ripple effect in every other market in the world, including the U.S. I think the first place that most people are looking right now is Italy, and it makes sense that Italy would be this exciting. It has a lot of the right characteristics. It has enormously high electricity prices relative to the rest of Europe, so grid parity, even on an unsubsidized basis, may be reached in the next year or two. The second place that I would say, most people are looking, and you hear a lot of very optimistic talk about, is the U.S. market, where we are now. The first thing that I think is important to note about the U.S. market is that it doesn't exist. At least not as a singular entity. It's another market that has enormous long-term potential, and I think Travis is absolutely right in saying that before long the U.S. will be the biggest market in the world and will remain so, short of China ramping enormously.
So thin film was, with the, the obvious exception of First Solar, was a pretty difficult year for thin film manufacturers. And there's a few reasons for this. One is the price drops in polysilicon made the cost structure of crystalline silicon a lot more competitive, and the value proposition of thin film is to a great extent tied into the expensiveness of crystalline silicon. When crystalline silicon PV gets cheaper, it creates problems with thin film. And nobody really saw the spot market declining as quickly as it did in 2009. If you look at the top global crystalline silicon cell manufacturers in 2009, 6 of the top 10 cell manufacturers were Chinese. So you have the Chinese manufacturers making great gains as far as increasing their market share is concerned, partly as a result of also aggressive pricing strategies which could be enabled because of their superior cost structures.
The utility scale market is really where volume will increase fastest over the next couple of years. And that's not only just because there's all this potential there, but also because the market is so nascent. I mean, it barely exists today.